visions. I've seen it in my manifestation. I'm sleeping this guy and gonna create the most viral knockout. We're sparring.
Warm up.
Some 8-year-olds. I got the 8-year-olds in there.
If I find out anything, I'm gonna beat yo and I'm gonna beat Jaden on love. On my mom, I'm gonna beat both.
Legacy if Jake Paul were like to beat him or even like knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from.
Gervonta Davis clapped back after Jake Paul boldly claimed he'd knock him out in just 3 rounds, a comment that's turned the hype up even more. Many critics believe this fight puts Davis's pride and legacy on the line, since top fighters like him rarely face someone with Paul's background. A loss would raise big doubts about his choices, but if Davis overcomes Paul's size, power, and media buzz, the victory could be
I think Davis is more to lose because he's the bona fide world champion. I don't care if he's much smaller. I think Jake Paul has sort of plateaued as far as where his boxing is concerned. It's rather low level. He's big, he's physical, he's strong, he can hit. So there is that risk. Davis, at lightweight, you're in a moment where it's too physical for you, you can clinch. Against the heavyweight, where you clinching? You ain't getting out of that corner just clinching anymore if you run out of space. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. But Davis, listen, there's a lot of talking points that I'm sure we'll get into when this gets closer to the fight. Davis can still punch at lightweight. Can he drop a heavyweight? There's a lot to gain there, right? If Davis knocks,
The answer is yes.
If Davis drops Jake on his ass, as much as Davis is the one with more to lose, it's still a highlight moment.
A visual that will stay forever.
Yeah, but if you get dropped, even if you're smaller, you're still a world champion in multiple weight classes. If you get dropped, what's the look? What's the feel? On the inside, as boxers, me and Chris Alger's the champion. Even you, Jimmy, you have fight experience, so we know that the risk is a big guy that big hits you. You're probably going down if you're a small guy, if he hits you clean. So we know the risk, but how does it look to the public eye who don't understand that? You know what I mean? The public, so there is a lot to lose, though. There's a bit to gain. I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with this had Davis's career arc been one that benefited boxing. Davis was manufactured and put into a position where he's supposed to benefit boxing, and I don't think he has. I think he's hurt boxing. So by giving him this reward, that's my problem. Why are we watching this? Why don't you make him earn his spot that he still hasn't earned, mind you?
Jake Paul has turned up the heat even more, confidently claiming he'll score the knockout of the year against Gervonta Davis. For him, this isn't just another fight. It's a chance to make headlines and shut down all the doubters. His bold attitude shows he sees this as a shot to prove he belongs, surprise the critics, and secure his place in boxing history. By promising a knockout that everyone will remember, Paul isn't just going for victory. He's aiming to make the fight a full-blown spectacle.
Fighters, because this thing is going to be watched by hundreds of millions globally. Jake, give the people one thing that you can guarantee that they're going to get on November 14th when they tune in to Netflix.
Yeah, you're gonna see the 2 biggest fighters in America go head-to-head with an amazing card. World championship fights back to back, and that's just how the MVP way we do it. And I'm gonna come for a knockout of the year again. I've seen it in my visions. I've seen it in my manifestation. I'm sleeping this guy and gonna create the most viral knockout ever.
Rolly Romero shared his thoughts on what a Jake Paul knockout over Gervonta Davis would truly mean, saying it wouldn't really damage Tank's legacy. He reminded fans that Davis is already a 3-division world champion and one of the most respected fighters in the sport. In his Instagram clips and interviews, Romero explained that one loss, even a surprising knockout, can erase years of dominance, championship wins, and elite performances across multiple weight classes.
Bro, you can't be mad at somebody for doing what they feel is best for them.
Will it impact Tank's legacy if Jake Paul were like to beat him or even like knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from him. Bro, you can't be mad at somebody for doing what they feel is best for them. It's the same way Roach feels Tank is the best option for him. Same way that Stevenson thinks Tank's the best option for him, or like all that stuff, right? At the end of it, bro, we just want to do what's best for ourselves, right?
Fact.
Right or wrong.
Fact.
So just do what's best for you.
Romero offers a down-to-earth take on the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis fight. He says Tank's legacy is already secure. He's a multi-division champion with a career stacked with real achievements. According to Romero, Davis doesn't need to beat Paul to prove his greatness. Still, he acknowledges the challenge ahead, admitting that Paul's size gives him a physical advantage. But while that difference is real, it doesn't change what Tank has already accomplished inside the ring.
But like, Jake Paul might be too big for him, or Tank might crack him. You don't know. Like I said, like, or as an exhibition, we don't know if they go at each other or not, or we don't know. I don't know. I can't give an opinion because I don't know what's going on.
Do you think it impacts, like, will it impact Tank's legacy if Jake Paul were like to beat him or even like knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from him.
Daniel Cormier looked genuinely stunned when he found out Gervonta Davis was set to fight Jake Paul. In a recent clip, DC called the matchup a joke, a total mismatch, and questioned why an elite boxer like Tank would even consider facing an influencer. He admitted he never expected someone at Davis's level to take part in a crossover fight like this. Cormier also voiced concern that the big size and power gap could make the event feel more like a spectacle than a real boxing match, possibly affecting how fans see Tank's legacy.
I swear to God, I was on a plane coming home from Las Vegas when Luis told me Gervonta Davis is fighting Jake Paul. I said, get the bleep out of here. I said, you're a bleep liar. Jake Paul is fighting Gervonta Tank Davis. There's one problem. He fights at 135 pounds. Gervonta Davis is that much better than Jake Paul at boxing. But Gervonta Davis in his last fight weighed 133.8 pounds. And I'm not over here in the business of just crapping on Jake Paul. I am much more respectful of what he's starting to build as a professional boxer. You're fighting a guy that's better than you. He's just much smaller. But that guy, because he's better than you, what if he wins? Everything Jake Paul has done is wiped completely out. Gervonta Davis loses to Jake Paul. Obviously, it's going to hurt who Gervonta Davis is. But he lost to a guy that's going to be upwards of 70 pounds bigger than him when he steps into the boxing ring. But I will tell you this right now, without a shadow of a doubt. I will watch this. Tank Davis is 30-0-1. You want to talk about Jake Paul fighting a real boxer? That's a real boxer. You can't make this stuff up, man. It's true. They're fighting.
KSI also weighed in, criticizing how hype and entertainment often take over real competition in crossover boxing. In one of his videos, he called out Jake Paul for twisting what influencer boxing was meant to be, accusing him of relying on flashy stunts instead of true skill. KSI said these kinds of fights blur the line between real athletic ability and pure marketing showmanship.
AJ and Jake was never gonna happen.
I didn't.
Really?
Yeah.
You thought it was actually gonna happen? Bro, it's so crazy. Like, I feel like so many people just believe everything.
But that's pretty unbelievable on the other hand.
I feel like I know. Well, okay, how do I say it like this? Itoma versus White. I had a lot of people bet on White winning. And I'm there like, you guys don't watch boxing, do you? You just look at a record and go, oh, Dylan's fought many more people than Itoma. That record says a lot. Itoma's like 18, not 18, Itoma's 20, inexperienced, 1-1. Like, I just knew Itoma was gonna just destroy him. And I think a good fight for Itoma would be him.
Boxing journalist Gareth A. Davies has voiced strong concerns about the upcoming Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis fight, calling it yet another example of boxing choosing drama over discipline. He argues that with the major weight gap and the fight's exhibition-style setup, it hurts the sport's image of fairness and real competition. Davies admits the matchup will draw huge attention and big money. but warns it could damage boxing's credibility as a serious sport.
I think we've gone out of the frying pan and into the fire because we thought we were going to get Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua very soon. We'll speak to Frank Smith about that in the next section, obviously. Eddie Hearn was teasing it to me personally last week. £80 million on the table for Anthony Joshua to fight Jake Paul. But 8 inches in height difference, 7 weight divisions between them, 5 stone, 70 pounds between them. It's a joke. It's a circus fight as opposed to a disgrace of a fight, which was Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. At least you feel in this, you've got quite a poor, very big one against a pound-for-pound, brilliant, unbeaten little un. And the little un who'll come up to his navel will hit him with a lot of body shots. I said in the week to Danny Kelly and Charlie Brooker that, do I mean Charlie Brooker? No, Baker. Charlie Baker. That Charlie Brooker's a different person altogether. That he'll be throwing the Superman punch, the leaping left hook. It's going to be a very odd thing. It's called, in inverted commas, an exhibition bout. But everybody in boxing who is a name doesn't mind going in with Jake Paul because they know they're making millions of dollars. And that's the only reason that Gervonta Davis, who's being called the poison little elf by Jake Paul, and it'll be fun in the build-up. Everybody in boxing knows they're guaranteed to make millions of those silverbacks, those greenback notes that they give out in America, and they give them out for fun when Jake Paul fights. So he's not going to say no to it. But can you pick a winner in that?
Tank has openly admitted there are a few things about Jake Paul that genuinely concern him. As fight night approaches, he's said more than once that he needs to see just how strong Jake really is. He's also cautious about Paul's size, reach, and how effectively he uses them. Challenges Tank has never dealt with before. Davis knows Jake moves differently and has a kind of mental toughness that's thrown other fighters off. Still, Tank insists that on November 14th, he'll adjust, step up, and leave everything in the ring. Meanwhile, fans of this matchup say it's a symbol of
has been 4 years in the making, when a fairly novice Jake Paul made a wish list of future opponents, and right in the middle of that list was Gervonta Tank Davis. Many laughed at the time, and some still can't believe we're here. But these two young men are the face of boxing for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. They are the 2 biggest boxers in America, and they're putting it all on the line. One has the speed, the skill, the accuracy, and the one-punch knockout power. The other has the size, the force, and the unbreakable confidence to make this must-see Netflix.
Does Jake Paul have that concerns you?
What concern me, his power. Gotta test his power. Gotta test his, just everything, to be honest. I never been in the ring with Jake, so I could say a lot, but when it comes down to November the 14th, I gotta be in there with him. I gotta be able to, his arm reach, his size, his power, the way he moving and things like that. I just gotta adapt, as I
Nikiza Badarian, co-founder of Most Valuable Promotions, brushed off worries about Jake Paul's size advantage over Gervonta Davis. He confidently said size won't matter because Davis's skill is simply on another level. Badarian explained that this fight didn't come out of nowhere. It's been in the works for a while, especially after Jake's planned bout with Canelo Alvarez fell apart. According to him, Davis had wanted this matchup for years, and once the Canelo fight was off the table, Tank became the clear next choice.
News broke, Jake and Tank are gonna happen November 14th.
Whatever weight they want, man, they're talking about it, and whatever it is, there's gonna be a definitive outcome. People can talk about pro, exhibition. We're gonna make sure this is as real as it's real.
Why was it, just out of curiosity, why is it not a professional bout and why is it an exhibition? Because I'm sure Jake would have taken the professional bout.
Nothing's been communicated as yet in terms of what it is, right? Similar to, if you remember, with Paul Tyson when we announced it, we didn't have the weight. We didn't have the rules, particularly in terms of the number of rounds, the minutes, the gloves. It's going to be the same thing here.
Gotcha. Can you just offer us any insight as to how these negotiations went? The reason I ask is because I remember back in March, I was at Tank's fight, and after his fight in his press conference, he was asked, next opponent. He said, well, my next opponent might have been in my locker room tonight, and people asked him, was it Jake? He made reference, he made allusion to. Has this been an ongoing thing, and has it ever, been at a point where it wasn't gonna happen and came back, or was this always the plan?
Always been the plan for Jake to fight Tank once Canelo didn't happen. And to Tank's credit, he's a real bad dude, and he's been calling out Jake for 3 years. And people, it's funny how now they're saying size matters, Jake is big, when for so long it's been Tank would kill Jake Paul. Now you get to see if that's real. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Darian pointed out the clear size difference between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis, with Jake being taller, heavier, and having a longer reach. But he believes Davis's experience and skill easily outweigh it. Tank is a proven veteran with over a decade of dominance, multiple world titles, and an almost perfect record filled with knockouts. Showing elite timing, adaptability, and ring IQ, Jake has improved, but he hasn't faced anyone close to Davis's level. Some fans online claim Tank chose Paul for an easier, more profitable fight instead of tougher opponents, but others argue that's unfair. Davis has already beaten top fighters, stayed undefeated, and earned his place among boxing's best.
We wouldn't go ever fight with Coach Stevenson, no Keyshawn Davis, no Teofimo Lopez, no none of them dudes. You know what I'm talking about? We gotta think and look at Tank Davis's whole career. He done made some bread, but at the end of the day, all that bread that he made, when it's all said and done, he ain't gonna get no respect from his peers, because we gonna look down his resume and we gonna be like, he was trapped, he was some traps, he was some traps, he was alright, but he was never like that. He was okay. He was some traps, he was some traps. He ain't did nothing. Hey, that's just what it's gonna be at the end of the day.
Critics often overlook what Gervonta Davis has already accomplished. He's a multi-time world champion, still undefeated, and known for knockout performances that showcase both his power and skill. Taking on a high-profile fight now doesn't erase his legacy or lessen what he's achieved. In today's boxing scene, where entertainment and promotion matter just as much as talent, there are many ways to define greatness. On the other hand, Jake...
Nah, they'll never give me credit until I have the world championship belt, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. But belts collect dust, and what I've done in the sport is unprecedented. Never will be replicated, and done it in such a short amount of time, just getting warmed up. They're not going to give me credit, but I don't need the credit from these bozos, to be honest. The credit's in my bank account.
Jake Paul is already looking beyond Gervonta Davis, calling out Anthony Joshua as his next target, a statement that stunned the boxing world. Some fans laughed it off, while others saw it as pure ambition. Given Joshua's experience, heavyweight strength, and huge size advantage, many insiders think Paul's goal is far from realistic. Still, this bold move fits his usual pattern, always going after the biggest names to prove himself and build his case as a legitimate boxer.
Anyone, anytime, any place, against all odds. And I like my odds. First, I'm gonna kill David. Then I will go on to slaughter Goliath. Okay, so you have to think that the last one, first I'm gonna kill David, referring to Gervonta Davis, and then he's gonna go on and slay Goliath, referring to Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, and
he's gonna go and fight a 140er, and then move up, 135er, and then move up and fight a heavyweight.
so the lowest he's been, I went through all the fights. For his first two fights, his first two pro fights, he was 175. Now this is all the way back in 2020 against Nate Robinson. Since then, the lowest he's been, as you said, was like the 185 around the Nate Diaz fight, and also for Tommy Fury. I wonder if Jake can get down to that weight anymore. But regardless of Jake's weight, I can't fathom how Tank Davis would be anywhere in the realm of what he would be. Like, it just, he won't even be in earshot of what Jake